I had a really good time in Budapest. Just a stunningly beautiful city, well kept, and very friendly people. But it was time to go, and time to roll, and time to head back to the west. The next thing I'll point out about both Hungary and Slovakia is English is not really fluently spoken in either of these countries. So be prepared and just bring along your smartphone with Google Translate. You'll have no problems. The other thing about both of these countries, the people, the citizens of these countries are extremely outgoing, very, very friendly. Unlike, shall we say, Austria and especially Germany, they tend to be a little bit more stoic, hide their emotions. But Hungary and Slovakia, the people just go out of their way to be kind. It is a great place to travel. Somehow, Komoot had me head back to the west on Eurovelo 14 rather than the way I came into the city. I am not objecting to that whatsoever because it was sheer terror getting into Budapest. As you can probably tell from these videos, both Hungary and Slovakia are a little rough on the edges. They're still recovering from being a Soviet bloc country. I will imagine it's going to take a while longer, but they are also significantly cheaper to travel through than the rest of the EU. The first night after leaving Budapest, because there's a lack of campgrounds along this route, I stayed at a bed and breakfast just north of the little town of Biski in Hungary. This place was a German family, had built this place, and they conduct a lot of German-type reunions and so forth at this location. The night that I stayed, I was the only person in the B&B. It was a very quiet place to sleep, very, very nice. The downside is I had to order in pizza from the next town over because it's about 6 kilometers to the closest place to eat. There wasn't much to report today other than just nice country roads and rolling hills and lots of bike paths which were well maintained, just making for just a really wonderful day. If the wind would just stop, it would be a perfect day. The next morning, within a few kilometers, I would cross the river and be in Slovakia. And again, the trail just followed the Danube, and really it's just a pleasant ride, but for the wind. I just cannot explain the wind well enough. It's constant, it's howling, it's in your face. There'll be a spot here later in this video where I just left the outside noise play for a while just to show you how viciously the wind has been blowing for the last several days and will continue to blow almost every day of this ride. Today would be the day that I reached Bratislava. It was going to be a slug. The winds were blowing again, but I have finally figured it out. I can't do anything about the winds, but I can set my cadence in the pedals where I'm not struggling, and it may take me 0.75 times longer to get there, but if you just keep pedaling, you'll make it. And if you stop having that expectation of going 10, 11, 12 miles an hour, you're still going to make it. You may be traveling 7, but you're going to get there. So it's just going to be a long day, and I made it to Bratislava, where I had a great shower and went out and had dinner. Well, today was just another one of those doom and gloom days. Overcast, threatening rain. In fact, it spit rain at me for a short while. But either way, I was headed to Vienna. I'd found a moderately priced motel room for a couple of nights, and I was going to go see the opera house, so off I went. As it turns out, I went to go visit the inside of the opera house on my day off, and I was advised to come back in 30 minutes, get in this line, and I could purchase a ticket. I get in the line to purchase a ticket. There were no tickets in English. So then I saw that they had them in Spanish, so I decided I would go on a Spanish tour. But they were all sold out. Finally, I said, I'll go on a German tour, and they also were all sold out. So unless I wanted to spend another 4 or 5 days in Vienna, I wasn't going to get to see the inside of the opera house, and that defeated the purpose of me spending another day there. But either way, Vienna is a vibrant, alive, overly crowded, fast-paced city. If you like that, you're going to have a grand time there. And just to show that Mother Nature appreciated me, on the day off in Vienna, it rained all day. People had warned me that getting in and out of Budapest was a nightmare. Both getting into Budapest and exiting Budapest, to me, were extremely simple and straightforward. Getting into Vienna, because I rode straight through on the way to Budapest, was no problem. Getting into Vienna on the way back, again, no problem. Very simple ride. But the morning I went to leave Vienna to continue west, that is a nightmare. The streets, the traffic, the boats, the canals, the sidewalks, the lack of sidewalks, the construction, the trains, it's all together. And you need to have your head on a swivel or you're going to become a pancake on the front of a truck. It is chaotic. Once you clear the city of Vienna, the ride isn't bad. Once again, you're back on a bike path, pretty much carefree. Look out for the snakes, look out for the ducks, look out for the swans. and of course the million other bicyclists. Tonight I would camp at the same campground where I had camped free previously, but now I was informed that somebody would come by and collect the money, which I think was 14 euros. But overall, you can't beat it. Had a shower, had electricity. It is a great place to camp, very quiet and well maintained. Today's ride is just stunningly beautiful. You're right next to the river. A lot of the area is shaded. There's bicyclists, there's wildlife, there's boats. It is everything that you can imagine the Danube, and the Danube being in Austria. Today was just another wonderful day of riding along the Danube, and it was going to turn out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. I would eventually get to the campground, although the last 10 or 15 kilometers was a true slug. The wind had really picked up, and it was right in my face. I was up on top of a dike, completely exposed to it, and there wasn't much I could do. But I get to the campground and I tell the owner of the campground that I'd like to get a barrel. And he goes, "But you're on a bicycle." He says, "Don't you want to camp?" And I said, "No." I said, "It's going to rain tomorrow." He goes, "No, it's not going to rain." He looks up in his phone app and it said no rain. I looked up on my phone app and it said 98% chance. I said, "I'll take the barrel. I'm going to take a day off here." And he said, "Okay." So I move into the barrel. I no more get my stuff off of the bike. And it starts thunder, lightning, rain, hail. And the next day, it rained the entire day until about 3 o'clock in the morning. Best decision I made. As forecasted, it rained all day, all night, and into the wee hours of the morning. I just hunkered down for the day and took advantage of it, packed and unpacked some stuff, and did a little computer work. Here's a brief look at what camping in a barrel is like. These kind of resemble or replicate what a wine barrel would be like in this region, although they've never been used for wine. But they're used for campers, and it's fairly cheap and a convenient way of staying out of the rain. Today was just another typical day of bicycling here. The wind's in your face, get used to it. And I rode along and I was going to a campground where I'd stayed before called Kaiserhof. And I made it there. I got my tent set up before it started to rain. I walked over, took a shower. I was just coming out of the shower area and there were two other cyclists there. So I had the door open so they didn't have to key their way in. And I walked back over to my tent. And when I got to my tent, I noticed that they had set up their tents right next to mine. Now, for the life of me, I have no idea why they did this. There has to be a good acre and a half of ground there just for tents. And there was only the three of us. That was it, but they were there. Later, I found out they were both from Slovakia, both really great guys, and maybe it's just something cultural that they like little groups of people. I don't know what it is. I know as an American, we want to spread out a little bit, but I guess when in Austria, do as the Austrians. On the way to Budapest, I cycled along the south side of the Danube, but I could look across the river in most places and realize that there was a road to be cycled on the north side, and it looked like there was a lot less traffic and people over there. Some of the trail is actually a roadway for like the local residents and so forth to come up and down the road. But it also looked like it was flatter. And so I really wanted to go to the north side of the river. So today I knew I could cross the river and get over to the other side. When I was talking with the German couple that I had met a few weeks earlier, they explained that there's a boat that will shuttle you past this area where there is no road. It's because the mountain comes right down to the river. So I would end up taking a pontoon boat up the river for about 10 kilometers back on the trail and continued all the way into Passau today. And so I'm back in Germany. And from here, I've changed a little bit again. And I'm going to head straight for Munich or München if you're German. Getting to Passau is another treat in and of itself. It's a place where I was going to have to speak Spanish. The people who run the little pizzeria at the campground, as it turns out, they speak German, but they are originally from Ecuador near Quito, and their second language, or actually their first language, is Spanish. Second language is German. They do not speak English. So, as bad as it is, I can stumble through and had another good meal, a beer, and I am back at the campground, fat, dumb, and happy. If you know who Brooke Benton is, and if you ever listen to any of his music, and if you haven't, think about Rainy Nights in Georgia. It's one of his number one songs, and he's an old-time singer. He's long past gone, but it was like that all day. It rained all day, and it only got worse as the day went on. And towards the end of the day, I started really searching for a place to stay. My tent was already wet. I really didn't want to set up a wet tent and try to dry the inside out a little bit so I could put my sleeping bag down. I just didn't think that would work. I use Komoot for navigation. Works great. They put you on bike paths, nice rural country roads if there's not a bike path available. But the downside to that is there ain't a whole lot around. And as I got closer and closer to where I thought I should be, I went to Google and started looking for pensions or hotels or guest houses, and I finally found a place, and I got there and got checked in, and the first thing I did was stretched my tent out all over the room and got it nice and dry because I knew I'd probably be camping the next day. It was just another day of ruthless winds, but I really didn't care. I was now 2 days outside of Munich, and nothing was going to stop me. So I just set a pace of a roaring 7 miles an hour, my overall pace for the entire day. And eventually I would reach my destination, and I was quite happy that I got there. After I stopped for lunch, the sun actually came out. The first part of the day was pretty gloomy and spitting rain at me, but later in the day it warmed up and turned out to be a fairly decent day, but the winds were persistent. So one thing I didn't have in mind is I was going to get on the road early the following morning. The ride into Munich was just a nice, quiet country ride. Eventually, I would reach the river path, and that leads into the city. And I rode maybe 3, 4, 5 kilometers of that. And then I reached the city, and of course, it's a big city, but they have a lot of infrastructure for bicyclists. And so it's fairly safe, but it's very, very busy. The following day, I would go over to the BMW Museum with about half the population of Munich because it was raining. And I guess everybody wanted to do something inside. Today I spent a few hours at the BMW Museum. I am an absolute car fanatic. Big, fast, loud, gas guzzling, fire eating, fire breathing, carbon emitting cars. I love them. Faster, the better. Sleeker, the better. Anyway, that aside, I still like to ride a bicycle. But as you can tell, like I said earlier, about half the population of Munich decided to go to the BMW Museum today because it's raining. And you'll hear a lot of different languages, a lot of different people. But the highlight of this trip, for me anyway, was seeing Elvis Presley's 1957 BMW. It's a story in and of itself, how it was located, how that came about, and how they restored it. And it is one beautiful automobile. When Presley bought it, it was used, and he put a small block V8 in it. Remember, he was a sergeant in the Army because of the draft. And when I start to look back in things, I don't think maybe having a draft is such a bad idea, because everyone gets to join in the fun. But again, just a great day at that museum, and if you like cars, it is a must-go-see place.
Why didn't you stay with us?
Yeah, about 92 V8.
C'est une voiture qui m'intéresse toujours. C'est génial.
Jack in here.
I still like the classic.
You gonna get in there?
Yeah. Come on, take one with me. Really? Come this way. Take a picture. Come inside so you can see. Why did the light turn brighter?
Start of the song.